Hi, everyone. I wanted to offer you this brief video in support of your first HDA assignment. That's the Historical Document Analysis assignment. This week, you guys are doing HDA 1. Now, I provide all the materials, of course, on Canvas, so I urge you to look at each of the steps. They're just numbered steps 1, 2, 3. And hopefully, having watched this video, it all makes a little bit more sense. But a couple of things to keep in mind, because we're going to have a number of these HDA assignments this semester. And so, I figure you can hit the ground running here this week with the first one by following the directions and, using this as an opportunity to really practice what I'll call historical thinking. That is, the goal of this assignment is to get you to look at some primary source documents, what we call primary sources, and to do a bit of historical analysis with them. All right. So one of the things that you're going to look at is the form to use in this assignment. It's called a metacognitive log. That comes out of the Reading Apprenticeship Handbook. The metacognitive log is a 3-columned Word document that allows you to kind of break down each of the primary sources, each of the 4. There's 4 primary sources this week. Each of the 4 primary sources this week, column 1, column 2, column 3. And I provided you with a how-to guide in our module this week. So be sure you take a look at that, because it tells you what I want you to do for each of those columns as you analyze your primary source document. I think the first column will be pretty clear for you. Just follow the directions in the how-to guide. The second column is pretty clear. Look, most of this semester, the primary sources you guys will analyze will be written documents. But keep in mind, this is still the early part of the course, where we are just barely making the transition in historical time to civilizations. So there's no writing before civilization in human history. That's why it was called prehistory, and why some still call it prehistory. As you know, I don't particularly care for that label. I just call it history before writing. But the first 3 primary sources, or I should say, the first primary source you have originally was part of an oral tradition, more of that Australian Dreamtime oral tradition, but it's been translated and written down. So the first primary source is actually in written form, and you'll just pick a quote from it, what we call a golden line, which is an actual quote that you choose. It doesn't have to be especially long, maybe just a sentence or 2. That you think is significant in reading the source. For any reason, you might think it's significant, but what I want you to do is quote it verbatim and put it in that second column, what we call the golden line column, because in effect that serves as your evidence, your bit of evidence that you're then going to use to analyze the source. Now the third column, so for the other 3 sources, they are not written. One is a little statuette, a Venus figure. The other is a cave painting. And then finally, a clay seal from the Mohenjo-Daro civilization of what is modern-day Pakistan. And so they're all images rather than written text. In that case, there's no golden line to copy. So you rely on your own descriptive ability to describe some specific aspect of each of those images. Just provide some detailed description of what it is you're looking at or what it is that has caught your eye. Okay. All right. So then for the final column, again, all of these directions are available to you in the how-to guide in case you don't, get everything here. Go to that how-to guide. Now, the third column is we'll call the money column, which is your analysis column, analysis of the evidence, in other words. And I give you a little sentence starter there. It says, from this evidence we learn. Now, there's one of two ways usually you can go here. We'll call the first way the wing it strategy, where you've looked at the source. Oh, there's a picture, there's a statue, there's something written, and you just riff on that. You just give me your best. Oh, I think this is what it is. Well, look, that's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not historical analysis. And that gets me to the second and better option. And I try to explain this to you in the how-to guide again. The difference between just kind of a raw guess or maybe even just a basic educated guess, maybe you think you know something from somewhere, don't go for those options. What you want to do is inform yourself first. Now, the best way to do that is where I give you those primary sources. Read the introductions I provide. I give you an overall introduction to the unit and then introductions for each of those images in the PowerPoint that I give you. So pay attention to those, right? You can also use your textbook. A couple times I mentioned, I think, a page number. If you want to check out the Mohenjo-Daro section of the textbook, I tell you, go to this page. And then the other source, of course, key, is our lecture, our video lecture, which will also give you, now, I should hasten to add for this first HDA assignment, some of the video that pertains to this we did last week, or in the last couple of weeks, actually. One of the documents, the Mohenjo-Daro clay seal document, is the only one that actually fits in the time frame of civilization. All the others are pre-civilization. So you can get some information, though, however, about civilization from this week's video lecture. So, in other words, using the lectures we've had so far, you can bring an informed analysis, an informed perspective on what this evidence, these primary sources, tell us about the period of history in which they were created. And that's really the bottom line, because that's what historians do, right? We look at evidence. We ask ourselves, what's the context? The who, what, when, or where. We look for some significant feature of the evidence, maybe a golden line, if it's a written document, or some other exceptional detail if it's, say, a carving or a clay seal or something like that. And then finally, we begin with the evidence, but we never do the evidence. It'd be like walking a tightrope without a net, not to have that contextual information, that background information from lecture and reading and those introductions I provide you. And so really, that's what I want to see, right? I want to see in your analysis, I want to see that you have informed yourself. Yeah, informed yourself by using those sources at your disposal, those that I provide. Don't Wikipedia, don't Google. Use the sources that I provide you. And then tell me what you think it is, or tell me what you think it tells us about the period that we are studying. Sometimes students give me, the one sentence wonder, one or two, sentences, very general, right? Like, well, this tells me that, people thought that such and such was important. Well, look, this is a history class, a college history class. I want you to dig deep. I want you to really think through, as a historian might, what these sources tell us. And that's what I'll be looking for. So, don't worry about how long it is. Worry about if it's too short, for one or just maybe two quick sentences. But a short paragraph is not a bad thing for that third column, because that's usually what it takes to explain something that's actually worth hearing, right? Okay, well, look, this is an experiment. Give it your best shot. I love the work you've been doing it so far. We're going to scaffold the semester. We'll do this again and again and again and again. And my goal for you is to be good at it by the end of the semester. I want your final grade in the class to reflect the best quality work you did for me this semester. So the learning curve is fine, take a chance, bring me some analysis, and, we'll follow up and then improve, learn from that and improve on the next one. All right, well, look, that's all for tonight. I meant it to be a fairly short video. I got it under 10 minutes, so we'll call it a success, right? You can always get in touch with me if you have questions. Take care, everybody.